Hey guys, it's me again. You know the drill by now. I play Minecraft, and I read incredibly unhinged stories. Let's crack right into it. Am I the asshole for telling my ex to leave after they broke up with me and expected to keep living with me rent-free? This better be good. So the gist of it is, about 2 years ago I let my girl and her best friend move in with me. The plan was they would both move out of here, find a job, and I would handle most of the house bills, and they would buy stuff for the house while saving up for us to move somewhere bigger. It starts off rocky with them taking a while to get a job and contribute, but they did move out here, so I tried to be understanding. Well, not even 4 months into this, they both start to call out of work frequently until the job barely puts them on schedule. And so the little bit they were contributing stopped. My girl does eventually get a new job, but her friend just quits hers. And so my girl ends up supporting her and can't help with anything else. After a while of this, I get fed up with the friend and tell her she needs to find a job or DoorDash or something, other than lay around the house all day, and she immediately moves in with some rich guy she met online. Cool. Now it's just my girl and me, and I think we're about to lock in. Nope. After about 2 months, her new job fires her and she gets a job at Amazon, which she also quits. Then she gets a job at an HVAC company as a salesperson. Now, we are almost caught up, so this whole time we are pretty close, and even during the hard times, I feel like we have each other's back. Well, at the beginning of this month, my girl gets an offer for a job paying a lot better. And out of the blue, she wants to break up. But here's the kicker. She wants to continue living with me until she gets her own better place. Parentheses, our original shared goal, if you remember. While not paying anything. I tried to put my feelings aside and told her I was fine with her staying if she could actually help out until she left, which she said she would do. Well, that turned into weeks of not only nothing, but also being ignored and other hurtful actions, so I finally had enough and told her to leave. Thing is, now I feel like an ass. TLDR. Girlfriend and best friend moved in with me so we could pool resources, but they became such a drain I not only came close to eviction a couple of times, but lost my car. Finally told girlfriend to leave after 2 years of financial drain and her breaking up with me, but trying to still live with me. Asshole move? Not quite. I don't think he's the asshole here. I think he's very, very far removed from being the asshole in this situation. Because, like he mentioned in the beginning, I already found it dicey in the beginning, it was his girlfriend's best friend who moved in with them. And immediately I'm kind of like, oh, that's a rocky start. The girlfriend sounds selfish all around, I think. I think the girlfriend sounds selfish, and I think she might have felt like she could do better than the guy she has now, which is, whatever, fair play. I have nothing to do with that. I don't know what's going on. However, if you're going to break up with someone, you got to at least pay the bills, Like, if you want him to pay the bills, but you're still together, fine. But if you're, like, separated, basically friends now, then you legally kind of have to pay the bills. You got to help out, That's just being a good person. Also, tiny question for OP here. Why did you say yes? You should have just booted her out. You knew it was going to be bad to begin with. But anyways, none of that bit, none of my business. None of my business. The decision making, none of my business. Not the asshole. All right, up next. Am I the asshole for refusing to talk to my parents and brother after they defended my sister-in-law leaving a soiled diaper and shit on my bed and taking stuff out of my mini fridge? Ooh, this is a really good bad one. Me, 19 female, and my sister-in-law, 31 female, do not get along. I met her 3 years ago for the first time after my brother, 31 male, introduced us to her. He said she was just nervous, but she was fine with the rest of our family. It was just me she was being hostile to. And I was excited to meet her because I love my brother and we were close. But the first impression never got better and we'd fight whenever we were around each other. She was extremely vocal about my decision to not attend college and go a different path, and She was incredibly negative about it. But then she was like, it was no surprise with it being me, and she bet I decided this because no college wanted me. I told her they clearly wanted people with issues since she went to college. Ooh. When her and my brother got married, she told him that if I was his best person, I needed to wear a suit like the rest of his groomsmen, and not the dress I had already paid for. Then at the wedding, she talked about how I looked like a guy wearing a suit like the other men. In return, I only congratulated my brother and ignored her. Even when she was talking to me later, I ignored her. I told my brother after the wedding I loved him, but would not be around her much because clearly we could not get along. So I avoided her and skipped stuff when she'd be around. Only that wasn't fully possible 7 weeks ago when her and my brother were visiting with my baby nephew. But I did stay mostly in my room when I finished work, and I didn't eat with the family, which my parents protested a lot against. I stocked my mini fridge every few days, or I planned to. But 4 days into their vacation/visit, I basically went no contact with my whole family, which is the point of my post. I had a day off work, my parents and brother went out for the day, sister-in-law home with the baby. I didn't want to be in the house alone with her, so I went out to avoid any awkwardness or conflict. But when I got home, there was a shitty diaper on my bed that had leaked and shit stains on my bed covers. My mini fridge had been left open too, and food was missing from it. I went and confronted sister-in-law and threw the diaper at her. My parents came back as we were fighting, and they told me to calm down, to stop making things worse. I asked them if they'd like to come home to find that, and for her not to clean it up. They said it was a simple cleanup job, and I didn't need to react like that. I asked them if I should pick it up and take it to their bed. They got mad, said I was OTT. Sister-in-law was laughing and made an excuse that she forgot to clean it up, and it had only been a few hours. Then I mentioned the food, and she said she got hungry and the baby was fussing. My parents said I could join for dinner. We were still fighting when my brother got home, and he said it wasn't worth the fight and I should understand that sister-in-law's a newer mom and mom brain is a thing. Sister-in-law was loving it, and she told them I had thrown the diaper right at her face. They asked me why I do something so disgusting and said I should apologize. That's when I told them all to fuck off, and I said good luck cleaning up the shit because I was out. I cleaned myself up a little and grabbed all my important stuff, and I went to my grandparents who picked me up a few blocks away. Parentheses, I can't drive due to a medical condition. They were disgusted and expressed to my parents and brother how ashamed they are of them siding with sister-in-law. That pissed sister-in-law off, and she told them to remember who gave them a great grandchild. After about a week, my parents and brother reached out, but I refused to answer the calls. I ignored their texts, where they asked if we could talk. I ignored them suggesting we all sit down and hash it out and figure out a way to move on. I have had zero contact since. I refused to talk to them, and my grandparents have expressed this, and they had to listen to my parents say I was behaving like a teenager, running away like this, and that I'll be 20 soon and need to talk to them before my birthday. Then one text was saying that my hate for sister-in-law will cost me a relationship with my nephew as well as my brother, and I don't want that. Am I the asshole? Man, first of all, I had a lot of trouble reading that. I don't know if the grammar and the punctuation is all wrong, but anyway, I think it's pretty clear that the sister-in-law is the asshole. She did everything, on purpose. It felt like she did everything on purpose, and I get mom brain, or rather I can't speak on mom brain. I'm a guy, evidently, so I can't speak on that too much, but evidently sister-in-law is very clearly the asshole, and brother-in-law and family, yes, for defending her, definitely, and for not taking your side. Especially your parents, not taking their kids' side and siding with a sister-in-law, absolutely not the asshole. I think they are. I hate coming home to shit and having to clean up shit when I'm tired from work or anything else. It sucks. Alright, up next, am I the asshole for refusing to wake up my husband when my parents visited and kicking them out when they insisted? Sorry for the throwaway account. I have colleagues that follow my main, and I like to keep my personal life as private as I can. With that being said, I will keep details as low as possible as well. Husband and I have been married for 5 years now, and we are both 29 years old. The last 3 weeks, due to a complete screw up in the department in the company my husband works for, it has been all hands on deck for my husband and his team to resolve the issues. My husband has been working 18 hours a day, and even some days not even coming home, working throughout the entire night and into the next day. I don't know much about the issues exactly, but what I do know is that if they do not resolve the issues, it will be a $50 million loss for the company. The issues are not the result of my husband or anyone in his team, but they are the ones that have to fix the issues. I can see the exhaustion in my husband's face when he comes in at 2, 3 in the morning when I'm awake and leaves at 7 again. I don't know how he is doing it and just keeps going, but I try my best to keep as much as possible off of his plate at home until he could get the issues resolved. Before this, he has been nothing but supportive and helpful around the house. When he comes home, he eats, showers, and goes straight to bed. I have found him some nights literally sleeping at the table while he was busy eating when I went down to check on him because he wasn't in bed yet and I got woken up. Or I'd see him passed out on the foot of the bed with the shower running and him still in his work clothes. 2 nights back, he got home at around midnight, which is late, but was too early from when he normally gets back, and I thought something bad happened because he looked like a ghost, but through his exhaustion, he gave me this massive smile and said, "They did it, and everything is done." He told me the boss gave them each a couple days off, and he only needs to be back in the office next week, Tuesday. He had dinner, took a shower, and got into bed. I got up the next morning around 9 and made breakfast. I thought about waking up my husband, but didn't, and let him sleep. Around 12, my parents visited me. I normally work from home, and they do visit from time to time, seeing as I'm 6 months pregnant as well. I greeted them, and we sat down and had coffee. Around 30 minutes into their visit, they asked where my husband was because they saw his truck in the driveway. I told them he was sleeping. My mother gave me a look and said it's unacceptable for my husband to still be sleeping past 12, especially with a pregnant wife, and I should wake him up. I told them no and to leave it, and then explained the full situation of what happened the last 3 weeks to them. They didn't budge and insisted I wake my husband up. Apparently it's not right for him to sleep in with a pregnant wife. It went as far as my mother standing up and saying if I wouldn't do it, then she will go and wake him up. I stood up and blocked my mother from going up the stairs and told my parents if they find it so wrong for my husband to get proper sleep after 3 weeks of barely any sleep, they should leave our house because I will not, and I refuse to let them wake him up as well. I told them I will let my husband sleep until he wakes up himself. I will not disturb him, and I will not allow anyone else to disturb him. They asked if I am kicking them out. I said yes. If they can't respect my request to leave my husband alone and let him sleep, they are no longer welcome. Their whole visit lasted around an hour. Around 3 p.m., I got bombarded with texts from other family members berating me for kicking my parents out of our house. Even my sister and brother berating me for doing it, telling me I'm the a-hole for kicking them out for just trying to help. Even after I explained the situation, some family members are still on my parents' side saying I overreacted by kicking them out because they were only looking out for my safety seeing as I'm pregnant. Edit. Unfortunately, I have a family that is somewhat close and loves to talk. Secrets don't stay secrets in this family for long, especially with my aunts and cousins that can't keep anything to themselves. As soon as they know something, everyone else has to know it as well. Bit of extra information I see kept getting asked. This is my first child. She will also be the first grandchild and the first child born in the family the last 20 years. Also, this was a bit of a struggle to read. A lot of grammatical errors and spelling errors that I had to correct on the spot. But anyways, I think Not the asshole. I think very not the asshole. However, case to be made, the parents were kind of hurt. They were just looking out for the lady, and we know how parents get. They get overprotective sometimes, and sometimes they pick the weirdest hills to die on. You know, sometimes that happens. What I don't think is cool is that everyone else in the family knowing about it. I think this blew up to something bigger than it had to be, because the parents could have just kept it with them. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't need to blow up so much. Not the asshole. Very not the asshole, but also could have been preventable if the parents shut their mouths. Also, good on her for looking out for her husband. Now, this is not a male-female thing, but just like as a partner, good on her for being there. Good on him for being there for her as well. Good on them both. Sounds like a real nice, healthy relationship. Next one, we get a little bit more professional here. Am I the asshole for telling a guy to shut up during a job interview? I was interviewing this guy for a very good software engineering position. He passed the first round, and both I and everyone involved in the second round really liked his resume and experience. On paper, he had everything we were looking for, and honestly, this looked like a life-changing opportunity for him. Then he shows up, very serious and not smiling at all. I'm used to that in tech interviews, and I understand it can be a very intimidating environment. We did a round of introductions, and then he opened the interview by saying, "Let me tell you a little bit about myself." We said, "Okay, go for it." He started talking about his personal and professional background. After about 3 minutes, I jumped in to ask a follow-up question based on something he mentioned. He replied, "I will answer, just give me a moment," and continued talking. A coworker jumped in with another question, and he said the same thing to her. At this point, we were kind of looking at each other, but decided to let him continue and give him the benefit of the doubt. But after more than 5 minutes, I jumped in again with another question. I had to talk over him to do it. He finally paused and answered, but in such a long-winded way that he ended up veering into another topic. My coworker asked another question, and the same thing happened. At this point, I was ready to end the interview. I tried to politely wrap it up several times, but he was unable to read the room and just kept talking. I finally raised my voice slightly and said something like, "Thank you very much for sharing your background. In the interest of time, I'd like to ask if you have any questions for us." This is standard protocol and helps us prepare answers for future interviews. He asked a question about the team. As I was answering, he raised his finger and interrupted to talk more about his background. I let it go, then he asked another question, which my coworker started to answer, but again, he spoke over her to talk about himself. I tried once more to interrupt politely, but he kept talking. At that point, I was done. I said, "John, you really have to shut up and listen." He was surprised, as was my coworker, but he finally stopped talking. I continued, "You walked into this room with a 99% chance of getting the job. Now that chance is 0. The only reason is because in less than 15 minutes, you've demonstrated that you don't have the capacity to listen at all. So I'm telling you now, you're not getting the job. But if you take anything away from this interview, let it be this. No matter how good you are, technically, if you can't listen, you'll never excel in this career." He apologized and said, "Can we start again?" I replied, "You had your chance. Best of luck in your future interviews. Make sure you listen." Looking back, I know I could have handled that differently, but I still feel bad for the guy. Okay, so necessarily not the asshole. Like, sure, he needed to hear it, right? He needed to hear it from someone of a higher authority so that he gets, like, taken down a peg, you know, like, keep the ego in check. Also, I can see it from the perspective of, if you're working HR for a company or, like, hiring for a company, you deal with people like this every single day, and there's probably a more elegant, kind of, for the lack of a better term, diplomatic way of doing that and tackling the situation. But yeah, overall, not the asshole. Good story for Reddit, you know, gets the people clicking. But I think in real life, in a real professional setting, yeah, you could have handled that better, but still doesn't make you an asshole. Tactless, maybe. All right, this next one is kind of weird, admittedly, but here we go. Am I the asshole for not wanting my partner to quote unquote sniff test my crotch anytime I've been out? Oh boy. All right. Okay. I know this sounds ridiculous. It is ridiculous. I can't believe I even have to write this, but my partner, female 25, insists that I, male 26, would only have a problem with her wanting to smell my genitals when I come home if I was trying to hide certain smells. So I'll ask Reddit. We've been together for 4 years, lived together for 2. There is no history of cheating, but she's always been quite jealous and paranoid. But the past 7 or 8 months has gone crazy with it. She checks my phone constantly, which is fine. There's nothing to hide. But it does feel invasive. If I'm out with my friends, she tracks me and expects me to check in constantly. If I ever take too long to reply, she accuses me of all sorts. If I'm late home, she thinks I've been with another woman, but about 8 months ago this started. I'd been out with a few mates at the pub. Seems to be a European OP here. Unfortunately, my phone died, and I actually cut my night short because I knew she'd be going crazy. I got back, straight away the questions and accusations were flying. After explaining 5 or 6 times, she suddenly stopped, stood in front of me, and then got on her knees and started to pull down my trousers. Honestly, I thought I was about to get lucky for a second, but what actually happened is she started to sniff on my crotch and seriously examine my little fella for signs of sex. WTF. She later apologized for it and said she was just upset, but now she's been doing it on a weekly basis. When I tell her it's crazy and that she needs to stop, she insists I would only mind if I thought she might smell something. She also said I'm welcome to sniff her genitals anytime I want to, but yeah, no, that's just fucking weird. She won't accept its batshit crazy behavior, so I'm hoping Reddit can help me show her that it very much is. So please, for the love of God, tell me, am I the asshole? Because I don't want my girlfriend to be constantly sniffing my genitals to check if I smell like sex. Edit, to add a couple of things that keep coming up. She's been diagnosed in the past with EUPD, or, parentheses, emotionally unstable personality disorder, which apparently is just some other name for BPD, borderline personality disorder. Things got worse 8 months ago when she found out her parents were getting divorced because her dad had been having an affair. I don't want to break up with her. I know I've not been honest with myself about how bad it is, but I've decided to sit her down and tell her that either she gets help in therapy and I'll be there to support her, or it's over. I'll try and update everyone with how it goes. So this is hot off the presses. This is like 15 hours ago from the time of me recording this on Reddit. Not the asshole. I know that I kind of laughed at it, and this is kind of like a funny post, but the level of paranoia from the lady is, I think, unhealthy. Might be because of trauma from, her parents or her dad being unfaithful, or somewhere else, right? If she doesn't get the help that she needs, I'd say it's not looking great. But anyways, there are some cases that this can be seen as abuse. Emotional abuse, physical, if it ever gets there. Hopefully not, right? I hope to God not. But this is bad enough that it might be abuse. And, you're not the asshole, and I hope you and your partner get the help that you guys need, and I hope you make it through. I don't want to be one of those guys on the internet that just says, just leave her, just leave her. It's a lost cause. I think I'm old school in a way that, like, you should work on it. You should try really, really hard because love is hard. That doesn't mean let yourself be abused, but try. And I hope you guys are making it through it. I'll keep my eyes open for updates. Anyways, up next. Am I the asshole for not having a relationship with my dad and his family? Because his wife is the affair partner and they talked crap about my mom. Alright, my parents were married when my mom got pregnant with me, 16 male. She was still pregnant when she found out dad was cheating with Lauren. Oh, I think we're just using real names. My dad and Lauren moved in together after the affair got found out, and then Lauren was pregnant. Dad and Lauren tried to get custody of me and lost. They called CPS on my mom and weren't able to take me that way either. So it was always toxic. They shared custody of me starting when I was 3, and it ended last year when the courts let me reduce it to 50-50, and then a few months ago, it was decided I could live with whoever I wanted, but I couldn't block or mute either parent while I'm under 18. Right, because he's 16 years old. My dad and Lauren have 6 kids together. My half-brother is the oldest, and he's less than a year younger than me. My dad and Lauren used to talk so much shit about my mom. I remember being really young, and they would say how she gave birth to me early and didn't even breastfeed me to make up for it. And how she hated my half-brother and wished him dead. They told me pretty often that she put herself before me and didn't care about my need to be with my family. They called her ugly, fat, and all kinds of other things like that too. They would be like, she doesn't buy you nice gifts like we do and stuff, or she didn't give you siblings like us. Lauren even said her womb was all rotted up from being such a bad mom. Whoa, that's a lot. I was maybe 5 when my mom told me about the affair and why she didn't get along with Lauren and Dad. She also told me they tried to take me away from her. The reason she did it was because she was afraid they would alienate me from her. I asked my dad about it and he didn't deny it, but it was years before he came out and said he didn't regret what he did and would do it all over again, only he'd try to win. I already resented the hell out of everything by then, and it was made much worse with all the shit they talked about Mom. Mom told me once, and she had a therapist help her do it. We didn't talk about it after that. I really hated being at Dad's house and didn't want to be close to Dad, Lauren, or the other kids. I made a lot of trouble for them. It was also really chaotic over there because my dad and Lauren broke up with each other twice and stayed living in the same house, but there was his half and her half, and those times were way tense. Lauren would get so mad when I wouldn't visit her side on Dad's parenting time. That actually almost made them break up for good, but they got back together both times. It added to all the weirdness. I got into so much trouble when I had to be there because I wanted nothing to do with the kids and was rude to Lauren and my dad. I started calling them cheaters 3 years ago, which pissed them off both. They told me I wasn't even born at the time, and I said I didn't care. They cheated on Mom and tried to take me away from her and talk crap about her when she was the victim. Lauren told me if Mom was so great, Dad never would have wanted her in the first place. I said it was because they're both gross. I think what OP meant here was the dad would never have wanted Lauren in the first place. Anyways, my mom had me in therapy through different points of my childhood. It was the therapist who suggested calming down and talking to the judge about reduced contact and preparing to be mature about it. He told me being mature and not disrespecting all of them, especially the kids, would be better. Both times it worked. So now I'm living with Mom and I don't have anything to do with them. I even transferred school so I could go full NC, no contact, with Dad's other kids. Because I don't really care if they're innocent too. I don't want a relationship with them. I get texts from Dad pretty often. I blocked Lauren though because I can, and they're kids. Dad tells me when his kids want to see me, and he's always texting that they all miss me. And I'm not being fair and at least have something to do with my half-siblings. I replied twice so far to all his texts because it shows I don't have him blocked or muted. I said I didn't care the first time and fuck off the second. And he just keeps texting about the kids, and now I know it's meant to make me feel bad, but it doesn't. I don't care. Am I the asshole? Alright, so if OP is 16, I think he's too young to be the asshole. If he's like 20 something, I think the healing the healing should start. The healing should start, and a step in healing is the forgiveness. Um and having not a good relationship, but having a civil relationship with at least the dad shows a lot. Would show a lot of progress and growth and maturity. But if it's real early on, I don't blame him. I don't blame him. Not the asshole. Um, Lauren and the dad, very much so assholes though. This is a very complicated situation, but those adults did not handle this situation like adults, you know? Like, you don't talk shit about someone's mom, let alone if it's your son's mom, you know what I mean? Like, you need to have some degree of respect for the kid's mom, especially if you're the dad. Like, whatever you show is important to you, your kid's gonna pick up, you know? You're gonna pick it up, and like in this case, sometimes you lose respect over it, which I know some parents' egos are up there, but your kids' respect matters, you know? Good on the OP's original mom, not Lauren, OP's mom, for going through this healthily. I don't know if 5 years old is the right age for that, but at least she got like a therapist. She put him through therapy, and yeah, not the asshole MVP mom. Messy situation. Asshole stepmom and parents though. And I don't want to speak on the half siblings because yeah, they're innocent. They have nothing to do with it. Completely agree with that. Not gonna say anything about him. MVP mom, not the asshole OP. Asshole Lauren and dad. Right up next, am I the asshole for wanting to break up with my boyfriend because of his niece? My boyfriend, 33, has a niece, 10 years old, who he has been helping raise since she was 6 months. That's a young age. I was told her mom and dad were not involved. When we first decided to get serious, I knew about his niece and his role in her life, but did not realize the extent of his role. When I first met her, she was a nice kid, but the second time I met her, it was terrible. We went to the aquarium and she wanted an ice cream, so we sat down so she could eat. My boyfriend shared a funny video with me from his phone. After watching it and laughing and talking about the video, I turned and looked at his niece, and she had thrown her ice cream down on the table and was crying. He then asked her what's wrong, and she proceeded to look at me and then back at him. Right then, I knew this would be trouble. After he calmed her down, he basically ignored me the rest of the time to keep her happy. She had started crying because he showed me a video and not her, and felt left out. After we dropped her off, he tried to apologize, and I told him I was left feeling uncomfortable. I felt like I was a bother to them, something like a third wheel. He told me he was just trying to make the rest of her time happy for her. I ended up letting it go, but told him we needed to talk about her and let her know I wasn't going anywhere. He agreed. Fast forward months later, my boyfriend and I planned a trip out of town so he could race in a running marathon. He then proceeded to tell me that his niece wanted to come. I asked if that was a good idea since I hadn't seen her since the aquarium issue. He said he talked to her and just wanted to have a good weekend. I agreed and decided to give her another chance. We picked her up that morning of the trip, and not even an hour into it, she was already crying. She cried mostly all day, so his attention was, of course, on her. I tried to be sympathetic and let him do his thing, but noticed anytime he showed me any attention, she would start crying. I bought us tickets to a movie she kept asking for, and she cried, not wanting to watch it when we got there. Then nighttime came, and she had agreed to sleep on her own bed, but then when she saw my boyfriend lay down next to me, the waterworks started, and she did not want him laying with me. He then jokingly told me, "Hey, I'm gonna sleep with a crybaby in her bed, okay?" I was fuming because I know it was intentional. She was literally just sitting there fine until she saw me and him together. Then I was fuming because instead of talking to her, he gave in. The next day, we were at the mall, and him and her were holding hands walking in front of me, basically leaving me out while they chit-chatted and enjoyed each other. By the end of the day, my boyfriend said, "What's wrong? You've barely spoken a word to me," as if I could. Then later on, when he was finally talking to me, showing me attention, his niece kept interrupting us. I knew once again what she was doing. It is the end of the trip now, and after replaying everything in my head, I want to end this. However, I know he's going to try and throw it in my face that she's a little girl who has abandonment issues and is just scared of losing him. I understand that. However, I don't agree with how she's being brought up. I don't feel like she should be getting her way every time she cries for something. Am I harsh? Does that make me the asshole? Not the asshole. I feel like this is a tough predicament to be in. I don't think it's the niece's fault at all. It's not the 10-year-old's fault. You know, she has issues. She doesn't know how to behave properly yet. Then again, some adults still don't. But yeah, she doesn't know how to behave properly yet. Yeah, she has abandonment issues. However, OP is not at fault either. If there's anyone at fault here, I think it's the boyfriend. He is treating the niece too well without actually teaching her anything. He's just giving her what she wants so she would shut up. It's the equivalent of giving a kid a lollipop just so the kid would stop crying. You're not actually addressing the issues here. These are just like she's getting her way, and it's gonna develop worse behavior within the niece as she grows up. And that's not going to be her fault. It's going to be on the guy. If he feels that responsible for her, he needs to start like taking more responsibility and address these things healthily. You know, like actually take responsibility for the kid if you want to do that. And it starts with holding the kid accountable and teaching her. Anyways, OP not the asshole. If there's any asshole here, it's the guy, even though he sounds like a good guy. Up next, we got a short, sweet, and drama-filled one to end this video off. Am I the asshole for breaking up with my new girlfriend because she wanted my friend first? I knew my girlfriend for a while before we got together. At first, she never seemed to notice me. Then we started talking more, and eventually, we started going out. I was talking about this the other day, and my friend was like, "You're welcome," and I asked him what he meant. He basically said he talked me up to her. And I was like, "Thanks," and didn't think much of it. I mentioned this to my girlfriend, and she was like, "You're not mad?" And I asked, "Why would I be mad?" And she reacted weirdly to that, because she actually let something slip. I asked her again, and pressed her for it. She confessed that she didn't really like me at first and wanted to date my friend, who kept talking me up about what a great guy I am. She said she wasn't really attracted to me at first. I told her I needed time to think. After a day, I talked to her and told her this wasn't going to work out, as I feel like she went out with me out of pity. She tried to convince me it wasn't like that, but I didn't believe her. I also told my friend I'm kind of pissed at him for not telling me, and that I'd have never gone out with her if I knew I was literally her second choice. He didn't ask, "Am I the asshole?" But I'm assuming he's asking, "Am I the asshole?" I want to say like not the asshole, but also I get what his friend and everyone else is thinking. It's totally valid for OP to not be comfortable with this, right? Totally valid, but I don't think that makes his friend or the other lady assholes. I think the intention of the friend was good. It was nice, you know. He's just trying to help his guy out, help his friend out. And the other lady, it sounds like she had a genuine connection to him. I'm looking at some of the comments here, and someone asked like, "What was your friend's intention for saying you're welcome?" And in my head, I'm just thinking like, maybe it's just a throwaway line, you know. He's trying to sound cool. He's just saying you're welcome. Again, I'm not sure what the relationship between these people actually are. Like they're friends, yes, but I don't know how close. But to me, in my lens, nobody did anything wrong. The feelings are valid. Nobody is the asshole. I like this one because it's very real, because these situations come up, these situations happen, you know? Like, reality is often gray, and everyone isn't just an asshole. Everyone around you isn't just filled with bad intentions. And, like, bad things don't just happen to good people on the regular. It's usually just a bunch of people raised different, who have different points of view with different views in life. And sometimes it just comes to a clash, and that's okay. A lot of these Reddit stories sometimes are really radical, where starts looking like a saint almost, and then whoever they're having it out with on the other end of the Reddit post looks like literally just Satan himself, just the most toxic, nastiest person, nastiest Karen you could never think of. And it's nice to see something that's realistic like this. You know, not everyone's a villain. Anyways, if you enjoyed this, be sure to leave a thumbs up or a like below, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one.